So, I have my advanced reading copy of Cold as Hell, autographed even by Rhett and Steve. So, I just wanted to brag and show off. If y'all have not seen Dead Acre on Audible, listen to Dead Acre on Audible, it is actually free with an Audible membership. So, I would highly suggest Weird Western. If you like stuff like Dresden Files, this is going to be right up your alley. And they just had some really big news on promotions and stuff that's getting some attention. So this is going to be available May 24th. Cold as hell. It's freaking awesome. So welcome Athon fans and authors. We have two releases today, one a box set and one just a traditional space opera. So I'm going to go through those, and we're going to bring Karl on, who's with us from Berlin. So let's take a look quick at T.S. Snow's A Span of Longing. This is book 3 in the Twilight of the God Chosen series. Eric Kahn Ingen is in exile, stripped of title, wealth, and citizenship for treason against the Arcanian Empire, a crime of which he is innocent. For a decade, he's wandered the galaxy, haunted by fear of instant death while earning barely enough to survive, performing chores no self-respecting citizen would touch. Destitute and addicted to the two most powerful illegal substances in the galaxy, he finds only one path left open. He enlists as a guard for a Terran mining colony. So if you want a nice long series, there's the God Chosen and Twilight of the God Chosen series. And so quite a few books in that. And I believe God Chosen just was released as a box set as well. So give it a look. Next up, we are going to talk to Karl from Berlin. Karl, how's it going?
It's great. Thanks, John. Nice to be here.
So we have Interstellar Caveman, a 3-book box set, which literally you guys can go on Amazon and just read the description and start cracking up laughing. Karl, Steve and I were talking last night about how much we appreciate British humor, one-liners, and comedy. It's just spectacular. There's a special place in many people's hearts in America for British humor. So tell us a little bit about Interstellar Caveman.
Well, the story goes, this is the story of Colin, and Colin is a pretty ordinary guy. Well, in fact, he's a very ordinary guy. He couldn't be more ordinary because he lives in modern day Earth, and he works in insurance. He, for fun, plays crown green bowls, which is usually the kind of thing you do once you've retired. So he's got a lot of friends who are above 65, where he's still a young guy. And if he's feeling particularly naughty in the evening, he'll drink a sherry. But it kind of all goes wrong for him. He finds that he has an incurable illness, and so he arranges to be put into cryogenic freeze, hoping to get a cure once, be revived and get a cure in the future. Unfortunately, it doesn't quite work out like that, because he wakes up untold centuries later to find that the Earth is actually a desolate wasteland and completely devoid of life. That's the bad news. The good news is that he is rescued, and that in fact humans have actually spread to other planets. But Earth itself has become kind of mythical, and humans aren't actually sure which planet humanity originated on, which is the question that his rescuer is trying to answer. His rescuer is a woman called Tyresa. She's an archaeologist. She's a no-nonsense kind of woman. And she goes around the galaxy in her own spaceship. And so as well as trying to work out, whether Colin is telling the truth, is Earth really Earth? They also have to contend with the fact that there's another planet which claims that it is the original source of humanity, and makes a lot of money from that, and is eager to eliminate Colin and keep his mouth shut.
Y'all have to go. I believe you can even just click on read sample. You have to go read the opening to Interstellar Caveman, because it kind of shows off the committee of voting and politics, and like that no one actually cared. The politicians are basically like, no one really cared where humanity originated from. We're just going to decide based on location, so it's not too far from these other planets, so they don't feel left out. Almost like deciding to move the capital of a nation or a state, to where it's central to other, bodies of government. And it's hysterical how that starts out, and you kind of see the picture going where this guy's going to come pop their bubble, and he's, like you said, an average Joe um, guy who's like not interested in all that. I can only imagine all the adventures he gets pulled into over the course of 3 books. So tell us a little bit. You're going to school for comedy, uh, which you're already hilarious writer. So I can only imagine your next projects being all the better. But give us a couple of tips to authors and aspiring authors out there about how to make a scene comedic.
Wow, that's a really good question and a big question. Because as you mentioned, I went back to school. So I'm doing a master's in comedy writing at a British university. I'm doing distance learning, and I've already 1.5 years into a 2-year course. So I've kind of spent 18 months already trying to answer that question. And the answer is that there are so many different ways you could make a scene comedic, and you could have you could have good one-liners, you could have slapstick, you could have the situation is just absurd, or you could concentrate on funny characters, or you could do all of them. My particular favorite way to do comedy is with character, and I think the key to having a good comedy character is to have a character who is flawed, and to throw them into situations which show off that flaw. So if for example, the sitcom Fawlty Towers, you know that Basil Fawlty runs a hotel where you have to be very, very nice to the guests, but he is the rudest man in the world. So he is the worst person to be looking after a hotel. And so every episode is an opportunity for him to try something, fail, and for the audience to laugh at him. Yeah, and like I say, into the mix you throw some good lines, bit of slapstick, things like that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm trying to make my book more slice of life comedy, in the sense of it's in a lit RPG world. And have you ever Sheldon from Big Bang Theory?
Oh yeah.
And then do you know the captain in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Captain Raymond Holt?
Yes.
It's a cross between those two characters. If they woke up completely disinterested in anything geeky related, and they woke up with wizard powers, and it's like they woke up and they were a wizard, they just put their clothes on and went to work. They didn't care. So it's like they're gonna be an announcement. You're a wizard. It's like, I'm an adult. I don't have time for this. Goes to work, starts typing on the computer, completely disinterested. And so he gets. It's like his first encounter in which there would be a battle. He encounters a hell rat, and he calls animal control. He's like, hey, animal control, come deal with this. And they show up on the scene and start screaming and shooting tranquilizer guns. It's like, get the thing. And so I think the foundation for the comedy for what I'm writing is to write a character with extreme flaws. That's just going through life and taking all the typical situations that you would see and flipping them on their head because they have such an extreme personality. So that's been a blast. So studying comedy writing would be something I would be very much interested. Do you have any materials that you would recommend people go take a look at? Because I think everyone that's an author in Athon could use some basics in the comedy genre.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a great podcast series which is run by a pair of British writers, and it's called Sitcom Geeks, and it's been going for about 6 years now. So I think there's close to 200 episodes, maybe, and it really is. It's like a free masterclass covering a whole range of topics in comedy. And so, if you like to listen to, if you like to learn by listening to stuff, it's a great place to start. If you're on your commute or on your jog.
Yeah, I think of so many situations. Who's the host of uh, it's a countdown? Uh, the British comedian. I
Oh, Jimmy Carr.
Jimmy Carr.
Mm.
I watched one of his specials the other day, and the way he did, basically, he built up and built up and built up and built up, and then at the end, it was just a dig on a guy who was heckling him, and it took like 5 minutes to get to the dig. It was like, um, he's what was it? He said it's like this guy was heckling him, and he got his name, and it's like. We'll call him Jimmy or whatever. And he's like, then he goes back into his spiel. It's like, that's rude. It's like, gets his name and just continues. He's like, it's really unfair how men and women are treated with their sexual behaviors. Men get called a stud when they sleep around with a lot of women. But when women sleep around, they're called Jimmy's mom. It's just this
Jimmy,
huge, long rant. And the very end, it just completely flips it on his head. And that is an art and a skill. And it's like, can you practice that? Can you develop that? Or is it something that you just kind of have to be born with? Because there's some
oh,
people that got it.
I don't think it's something you're just born with. It could be, but you don't have necessarily to be born with it. You can work on it. You can develop these skills. You know, I think because Jimmy Carr himself was until his mid-20s or something was just working in an office, and then just decided he didn't like it anymore, and then decided to go into comedy and learn the ropes. But he's a great one-liner comedian, Jimmy Carr, and he's merciless to his hecklers. Yeah. I understand he's doing quite well in America now.
Yeah, I'd say his rise in popularity has skyrocketed over the past year and a half.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what Countdowns was, and now I see it. It's popping up. I think it's that Facebook like the little short clips that pop up on the Facebook screen,
Yeah.
and he pops up and he introduces people and just destroys his regular guests
Yeah.
but it's like, oh, I'm going to introduce these guys. And it's just
Yeah.
gigs on them. It's absolutely hilarious. Hey, Levi,
Yeah.
good to see you. Joining us. He agrees humor used correctly makes a big difference to any story, even super serious ones. So, yeah, thanks, Karl, for the tips, and I'll have to check out that podcast. So you said you're early on another project. You're doing your comedy class, so it's kind of distracting you, but you're early on another project. Can you tell us any about that?
Well, it's still early days. I would say I'm about halfway through a draft. And it's a change in direction from Interstellar Caveman. So it's still a sci-fi, it's still a comedy, and it's drawing on my experience of the world of academia. So I used to be a lecturer in universities. How much shall I reveal? Okay, so it's a kind of a fish out of water story, like with Colin in Interstellar Caveman. It's about a very low level guy working in a university, a very, let's say, unsuccessful lecturer. His career just hasn't panned out the way he wanted it. But through a mix-up, he ends up at an elite university. In fact, it's so elite, it's basically it's no one in the world knows about it apart from these super elite academics, and it's a kind of almost like a Men in Black sort of organize, say like Men in Black as a university. So they invent a lot of technologies that we don't have yet, and then they kind of leak it into the mainstream. So let's say everything we have today was invented at this university years and years ago. Like microwaves were invented long before we had them. And this guy ends up by mistake as the latest recruit at this university. And in order to keep their existence secret, they've actually built the university underwater. So it's on the ocean floor, and it's called the University of Atlantis. So the working title is A Fish Out of Water in Atlantis, and we'll see how that goes. And it's basically the story of him trying to kind of work out what went wrong. Why is he here? And also try to keep his secret so they don't throw him out. And
the Yeah, I see the pattern you've got there. And now I've actually thought of something similar. We were talking about British humor, and we just keep getting looped into all of our favorites. I love the Ricky Gervais show with Carl Pilkington.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
I listen to it though, and I was like, they're making fun of him because at an academia level, he does not have it. But I was also thinking, my dad's a tradesman, my dad's an electrician. I was like, who would I call if I needed help? I have a neighbor that does like manages apartments and repairs and stuff like that, and he's a genius with his hands and
Yeah.
plumbing. He knows how to fix everything, and he saves thousands of dollars a year in repair bills. And I think Carl Pilkington kind of has the basic knowledge of
Yeah,
day-to-day living that Ricky Gervais type would not. And so
yeah,
when you talk common sense, it's Carl Pilkington does not have academia common sense. But when it comes to, some of the crazy, like if you were to put Ricky Gervais on a farm or the higher academias on a farm, they would be completely lost and useless. And I'm sure this has been rehashed many, many times. The super high intellectual one gets put into a common everyday scenario and doesn't know how to operate.
yeah.
But
That's me. That's me totally. I mean, I went down the academic road, but give me a screwdriver, I have no idea what to do with it. My father's a builder, my stepfather's an electrician. They're both very practical men. And whenever, when I lived in England, whenever I needed practical things, I would go begging to them. But I can't, because I can't do things like that. I'm just
yeah, it's like a situation if you had a reverse idiocracy. Higher education and automated learning and robotics has taken the entire society to the peak of knowledge, and then you have one guy who's just a common everyday dude, and he's dumb. Everyone in the world thinks he's a genius when
yes,
they're the geniuses. So you have a
yes.
reverse idiocracy. So I could see it, and I would love it. I would eat it up. Sometimes I think higher education needs to get brought down a peg or two.
I agree. That's partly why I'm writing it. I'm following the old advice: write about what you know, and because I'm writing comedy, I'm poking fun at what I know.
Yeah. Christopher Morgan, a fan, has hopped on. He says he absolutely loved the first two, and he hasn't quite gotten around to book 3, but I'm sure he's about to.
That's great.
So thank you so much for joining us, Carl. If y'all haven't checked it out, go check out, get a preview read and check out the box set. Fantastic deal. Hilarious. You're going to love it within the first page. So Interstellar Caveman box set by Carl. Appreciate having you on, and keep us updated about the new College of Atlantis project. So
I will do. Thanks for having me.
all right. See y'all next week.